Now, the good news is the Democrats are done, and slobbering, staggering Aunt Nancy has no answers. They're divided. The bad news is, in desperation, they could do anything, if you know what I mean. So they're desperate. It doesn't mean they give up because they're weird. Welcome to Doug in Exile. I'm Doug TenNapel. This is where the happy patriots are, and we're laughing all the way to 2024 as we walk Donald Trump back into the White House. Here's Doocy, and by the end of this thing, we're going to end up destroying even Kamala Harris, who's kind of the B plan.
And White House officials have already calculated that at the moment they don't have a very compelling argument about what they've done to fix the economy. So they are going to start this pitch for a second term by talking about what they can do to fix democracy.
That's because the Democrats, they admit that they have no plan for the economy. So they're inventing this problem that they need to fix democracy. But the problem isn't with Republicans in democracy. I mean, the only ones taking candidates' names off the ballot are Democrats. Nancy Pelosi will dodge that.
Biden White House staffers are reportedly down in the dumps in the eyes of the White House chief of staff. So Jeff Zients is planning a party at a venue in Northern Virginia to boost morale ahead of the election later this year. That is according to Axios.
They have to throw a Democrat party to encourage morale. They're done. When you have to do that with your campaign, by then, when you have to retool, refund, re-inspire, it's part of how we know that Ron DeSantis's campaign was done. Is by the time you're having to refund everything, it's all done. They're having to re-pump up Biden's campaign to get people excited. How can you be excited about Biden? The opening campaign he did was just a garbled, he is visibly more in decline. People are getting terrified of him, and I don't mean Republicans.
They have been struggling at the White House to find a foothold with voters unsatisfied with high prices and a porous border. So the party's most prolific operator over the last half century is offering a pep talk.
Here comes Nancy Pelosi on CNN, where they're trying to pin her down, going, what are you guys going to do? And tell me exactly, how is Nancy Pelosi going to pep talk them out of a disaster at the border? What do you do with that? When so far her comment is, we need them to pick our fruit.
Two states, Colorado and Maine, have now removed Donald Trump from their primary ballots. They cited his role in the January 6th insurrection. Trump is challenging these decisions. The Supreme Court will likely decide. Do you think it's a good idea for states to remove Donald Trump from their ballots?
That's up to the states.
That is your bottom line commentary on democracy by a Democrat. This is what they mean by, we have to fix democracy. They're taking names off the ballot, and she goes, oh, that's up to the states. I have nothing to say about that. Well, maybe it's up to the states for them to work to present an alternate group of electors to Donald Trump and pick him as the 2020 president. Is that up to the states? Of course not.
What I think is a good idea for us to make sure people know what is at risk in the election. I won't go into the courts and the law and all of that. Different states have different laws. We have a different law in California relating to that.
Okay, remember, guys, democracy is on the ballot, and it's on the ballot by Democrats taking Trump's name off of Maine and Colorado. And in fact, they would take his name off more. By the way, that is now expanding to not just the president, but other Democrats are trying to expand it to other people who they claim worked with the insurrection. Like they're going to try and keep Jim Jordan's name off the ballot. Comer, Margie Taylor Greene, anyone who is pro-Trump, they're going to use that same insurrection clause now to try to remove their names from state ballots. See how that works? See, the Democrats don't believe in any of the laws or the Constitution. They believe in ends justify the means. And the ends are whatever they preferred outcome. And then they'll pretend like it was supported by a rule.
Do you believe, though, I know you don't want to talk about the constitutional questions, but just on the raw politics of this, do you agree with some who worry that trying to take him off the ballot is making him a martyr?
It does make him into a martyr. And she just thinks we will control the narrative, And I don't think they know how to properly spin that. Charity gave her best case, which is we're going to let the states do that. We're going to pretend to be for the states. That's their answer. And that answer is not going to work with the American public, given the backlash against Maine and Colorado. Saying it's a state's issue and let the states handle it, that ain't going to cut it with the American people.
You joined me on State of the Union back in July. I asked why the American people weren't giving President Biden the credit that maybe he thinks he should have on the economy. You said a lot of it is about messaging, and you added that Biden just has to get out there. It is now 6 months later. The administration is still struggling on this issue. Why?
Well, I think it's time to get out there.
It's okay. It's time to get out there, but you never have to tell people to get out there and fight for your guy when your guy is someone they're already excited about. If your first battle is to get your own party excited about your guy, this might have been Trump's problem in 2020. It might have been that his base wasn't strong enough behind him. But Biden's base is even worse. They're running from him. They despise him. They're done with him. They're demoralized. And guys, I'm only bringing this up because it's such good news. This is more another throw a party episode. Wait a minute, because the news gets even better for our side and even worse for them.
And I think that the president, again, I've always said to members, people don't vote for you because you deserve it. But what you have done gives you the legitimacy to say, this is what I will do. And the president has said, we have more work to be done, and let's have a debate on who's there for the American people.
Biden is not going to debate anybody. He can't even talk. You put that guy on stage, and I don't care if his arguments are freaking Aristotle. They'll see him and they'll just be so horrified going, we can't let this guy, someone get him a gurney and take him to the hospital. We're in trouble.
Forgive me, but you feel confident that the voters are going to start to kind of digest that and feel better about the economy in a way that they just don't feel now, and that disconnect will be bridged?
Well, we have to do that. We do our inside maneuvering to present legislation and the rest, but the outside mobilization is the most important part of an election, to make sure people know.
Blah, 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 blah. She can't even put that sentence together correctly. Here's Peter Doocy with a mic drop.
The vice president hasn't been much help in any of this lately either. And there's a new book that's called Amateur Hour, Kamala Harris in the White House, that claims that initial hopes that Kamala Harris was going to be able to help President Biden rack up wins in the Senate are a, quote, joke. And
their bailout plan was Kamala Harris. She's no help. So they're not using her to help the Congress. The news gets even better.
It looks like it's going to be very embarrassing, and talk about they have no relationship. The president doesn't clue her in on anything, and the families have not had even dinner together.
Biden's and the Harrises, Kamala Harris, have not even had dinner together. By the way, that's not because Kamala Harris is a terrible piece of work. It's because Biden is terrible. This goes all the way back to the Obamas. The Obamas never wanted to hang out with Biden. They despise each other.
2 terms of Obama, there was very little interaction with the Obamas and the Bidens up in the private residence here. And so that might just be the way that Joe Biden knows how to do the job.
This is a Biden thing. He's a blowhard. He's a big mouth. He knows nothing. He's a criminal. No one likes him. And even socially, he has no friends. He always got what he wanted through manipulation of others and raw power. I'm Doug in Exile.